In the ancient lands of the Norse and Scandinavians, there existed a term that struck fear into the hearts of many: Draugr. This ominous word found its origins in Old Norse, specifically from the Old Norse word Draugr, meaning ghost or apparition. It was a term deeply entwined with the complex tapestry of Norse mythology and early Scandinavian folklore, where the line between the living and the dead blurred, and malevolent supernatural beings roamed the world. In Norse mythology, Draugr held a significant place. They were believed to be the reanimated corpses of individuals who had not found rest in the afterlife. These beings were often seen as a result of improper burial practices, unresolved grievances, or the interference of dark magic. As such, they were considered a grave threat to the living, a haunting reminder of the consequences of neglecting the rituals surrounding death. But what truly set the Draugr apart were their physical attributes and supernatural abilities. These were not your ordinary ghosts. They were something far more sinister. Draugr were depicted as reanimated corpses, their bodies pallid and decaying, emitting a putrid odor that signaled their malevolence. However, it was not their appearance alone that made them terrifying. It was their powers. Draugr could alter their size at will, growing to enormous proportions, and they possessed superhuman strength that surpassed that of any living human. These attributes made them formidable and nearly invincible adversaries. But it didn't stop there. Draugr were cunning. They retained their intelligence and memories from their former lives, making them even more dangerous. They could haunt burial mounds, guarding their treasures, and attacking anyone foolish enough to disturb their resting places. The concept of Draugr wasn't just a distant legend. It was deeply ingrained in the cultural beliefs and practices of the Norse and early Scandinavian societies. Rituals and precautions were taken during burials to prevent individuals from becoming Draugr, such as placing protective objects in the graves or positioning the bodies in ways that made it difficult for them to rise. Draugr were believed to come into existence through various means, and their existence was closely tied to burial rituals and the afterlife in Norse culture. Improper burials were a common cause, as were unresolved grievances. Those who harbored deep anger or resentment at the time of their death might find their spirits bound to the mortal realm, unable to find peace in the afterlife and thus returning as Draugr. Curses and dark magic were also believed to transform individuals into Draugr. Sorcerers and practitioners of the occult were thought to have the power to raise the dead and control them as Draugr, using them as instruments of malevolence. But perhaps the most iconic role of Draugr was that of guardians of burial mounds. These sacred sites often held valuable treasures, and the spirits of the deceased were thought to rise as Draugr to protect their final resting places. There were many tales that spoke of Draugr, shedding light on their behavior and the impact they had on the living. In the saga of the Inglings, the Draugr Grendel terrorized the hall of the Danish king Hrothgar in the epic poem Beowulf. Grendel's attacks on the living and his supernatural abilities made him a classic Draugr figure, a relentless force of malevolence. Another saga, Grettir's Saga, told the story of Grettir Asmundarson, an Icelandic outlaw who encountered a Draugr named Glamr. Glamr, once a shepherd, returned as a malevolent spirit after dying in a snowstorm. His haunting of Grettir and his family led to a confrontation that revealed the Draugr's great strength and fear-inducing presence. In Erbygja Saga, there was an account of a Draugr named Kari Salmandarson. Kari, believed to have returned as a Draugr to haunt the living due to his unavenged death, had dire consequences for those who crossed his path. But how did the living protect themselves from these malevolent beings? Throughout the Norse and Scandinavian world, various methods and rituals were employed. Proper burials were paramount. It was believed that a respectful burial would ensure that the deceased found peace in the afterlife, avoiding the transformation into a Draugr. Grave offerings of food, drink, and valuable items were made to appease the spirits and discourage them from returning. Some regions took further precautions, blocking the entrances to burial mounds or sealing the corpse within the coffin to prevent it from rising. Protective symbols, often in the form of runes, were carved onto gravestones or coffins to ward off evil spirits. Holy water or blessed items were used, and rituals were performed at thresholds to prevent Draugr from entering. These protective practices were generally consistent across Norse and Scandinavian regions, though variations in specific rituals and customs could be found, reflecting the diversity of Norse culture. The common thread was the acknowledgement of the potential danger posed by Draugr, and the need to take precautions to safeguard the living from their malevolent influence. As time passed, theories emerged about the cultural and psychological factors that gave rise to Draugr legends. Some believed it was rooted in the fear of the dead and the uncertainties of the afterlife, while others thought it served as a cautionary tale, reinforcing the importance of honoring ancestors and living virtuously. The concept of Draugr intersected with other supernatural beings and creatures in Norse and Scandinavian folklore. They shared commonalities, such as their undead nature, their role as guardians of treasures, and their shape-shifting abilities. Yet there were distinctions. Draugr were not the same as trolls, known for their monstrous appetite for human flesh, or elves, often associated with nature and magic. These legends left an enduring legacy, influencing subsequent folklore, literature, and beliefs. They continued to be part of oral traditions and local legends, finding their way into contemporary celebrations, like Halloween, which incorporated elements of traditional folklore. Efforts were made to preserve and promote these stories, ensuring that the rich cultural heritage persisted through generations. So, as you wander through the Nordic and Scandinavian lands, remember the term Draugr and the chilling stories it holds. It is a reminder of a time when the living and the dead were inextricably linked, where the restless spirits of the deceased posed a very real and terrifying threat to those who dared to tread on their sacred ground. Thank you for watching. Please comment below what you would like to see next.